This story follows a man whose world is turned upside down when his girlfriend admits to cheating and his friends side with her. He decides to walk away, leading to a series of events that expose a pattern of manipulation and deceit. The narrative explores themes of betrayal, social dynamics, and the consequences of one's actions. It's a story of self-respect and the unexpected ways in which truth and justice can prevail, without the protagonist resorting to revenge. My girlfriend admitted she cheated. I needed a real man, she smirked. My friends took her side. I just smiled, took my keys, and left. This morning, my phone blew up with 32 missed calls. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The signs were there, scattered like breadcrumbs through the last few months of our relationship. But when you've been with someone for 3 years, you tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. It started with small things. Sharon began working late more often, which wasn't unusual during busy seasons. But then came the new perfume I didn't recognize, clothes I'd never seen before appearing in our closet, and her phone suddenly becoming this sacred object that was never more than an arm's length away. I'm not the jealous type, never have been, but something felt off, the way she'd pull away when I tried to hug her from behind while she was texting, how she'd step, names I'd never heard before. Last Tuesday, I was folding laundry when her phone lit up on the coffee table. A message preview from someone named George popped up. Miss you already. Last night was. The rest was cut off. My stomach dropped. I didn't want to be that guy who snoops through his girlfriend's phone, but the universe seemed to be screaming at me to wake up. When she got home that night, I decided to be direct. She was in the kitchen making herself a smoothie like nothing was wrong. The sound of the blender filled our apartment as I leaned against the doorframe, watching her. Who's George? I asked. When she finally turned it off, the change in her posture was instant. Her shoulders tensed, but then she did something I wasn't expecting. She smiled, not her usual warm smile, but something cold and almost triumphant. Wondering when you'd finally catch on, Ronald, she said, taking a sip from her glass. George is my boss, and yes, I've been sleeping with him for the past 2 months. The casual way she said it felt like a slap. No guilt, no shame, just pride. I needed a real man, she continued, smirking. Someone who knows what he wants and goes for it, not someone who spends his weekends playing video games with Jason and watching stupid movies. I stood there processing her words. 3 years together, and this was how she really saw me. Through the shock, I felt something else rising, not anger, but a strange sense of clarity. Does Laura know? I asked, thinking of our mutual friend who'd introduced us. Oh, she's known for weeks, Sharon laughed. Most of our friends know. They understand. George can actually provide a future, not just dreams and excuses. That hit harder than the cheating admission. These people we'd shared birthdays, holidays, and countless dinners with, they'd all been watching this happen, probably laughing behind my back. I pulled out my phone and opened my group chat with Jason and Laura. Is this true? You all knew? Jason's response came quickly. Bro, you're great, but Sharon deserves someone more established. Don't take it personally. Laura chimed in. We didn't want to hurt you, but maybe this is the wake-up call you need. I looked up from my phone to find Sharon watching me, that same smirk still playing on her lips. She was waiting for the explosion, the drama, the scene she could tell everyone about later. Poor, immature Ronald, losing his cool. Instead, I smiled, a real, genuine smile that seemed to catch her off guard. Without a word, I walked to our bedroom, pulled out my go bag, always kept one packed for weekend trips, grabbed my laptop and my keys. When I passed through the kitchen again, Sharon was staring, her smirk faltering slightly. Where are you going? She demanded. Out, I replied simply. And Sharon, keep the apartment. I'm sure George can help with the rent. I heard her start to say something as I closed the door behind me, but I didn't stop to listen. My phone was already buzzing with messages, probably from our so-called friends, trying to explain themselves. As I drove away, I turned my phone off and felt something I didn't expect, relief. Sometimes losing everything shows you exactly what you never had in the first place. I had no idea where I was going, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was heading in the right direction. Update 1. Thanks for all the support on my last post. Never expected it to blow up like that. A lot has happened in the past week, and honestly, I'm still processing everything. I've been staying at this small motel on the outskirts of town, not the most glamorous place, but it's clean, and the owner, an older guy who introduced himself as Jeffrey, seems decent. He even knocked $20 off the weekly rate when he heard my story. I turned my phone back on after 2 days of silence. 32 missed calls, 47 text messages, most from Sharon, some from Jason and Laura, and a few from numbers I didn't recognize. But what really caught my attention was the notification storm from social media. Sharon had been busy, really busy. Her Instagram story painted a picture I recognized. Apparently, I was a controlling, jealous boyfriend who monitored her every move. According to her posts, I emotionally manipulated her for years, isolated her from friends, and threw a violent tantrum when she finally stood up for herself. Each post had hundreds of sympathetic comments, including ones from people I thought were my friends. The crown jewel: a tearful video where she claimed I had financially abused her by making her split all our bills 50-50, while I hoarded my money, rich, considering she earned more than me, and insisted on that arrangement herself. Then came the text from Cynthia, a coworker I've known for years. "Hey, you might want to check your email. Something's going around the office about you." Sure enough, there was a company-wide email about creating a safe workplace environment with a thinly veiled reference to recent concerning behaviors from certain employees. No names mentioned, but the timing wasn't subtle. I should have been angry. Maybe I should have fought back, posted my side of the story. Instead, I just felt curious. How far would she take this? Pretty far, as it turns out. Yesterday, I stopped by our local coffee shop, the one place I figured would be safe, since Sharon hated their coffee. Wrong. The barista, who'd always been friendly, gave me this look like I was something stuck to her shoe. Later, I found out Sharon had become a regular there, sharing her survival story with anyone who'd listen. But here's where it gets interesting. While picking up some clothes from storage, I ran into Dorothy, Sharon's supposed best friend. She looked nervous, glancing around like she was afraid of being seen talking to me. "You need to be careful," she whispered. "George isn't just her boss. His wife. She's connected, like really connected. And Sharon's been telling her you're unstable, dangerous, even." "Why are you telling me this?" Dorothy's eyes darted around again. "Because this isn't the first time. Before you, there was another guy at work. Sharon and George, they did the same thing to him. He ended up leaving town. That conversation changed everything. I spent the night digging through legal records, social media, anything I could find. Turns out the previous guy existed, Edward something, disappeared completely from social media around the time Sharon started at the company. This morning, I got a call from our landlord. Sharon tried to remove my name from the lease, claiming I'd abandoned the property. When that didn't work, she told him I'd been threatening her. He called to warn me. Turned out his sister went through something similar years ago. But here's the real kicker. While all this was happening, I got a message request on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. The profile picture was of a woman in her 40s, elegant, wearing expensive jewelry. The message was simple. "I believe we need to talk about my husband and your girlfriend. Coffee tomorrow?" It was signed by Mrs. George. "I'm meeting her in an hour." Something tells me Sharon's real man story is about to get a lot more complicated. The funny thing is, watching Sharon spin this elaborate web of lies, seeing our friends choose sides based on nothing but her word. It's actually liberating. Every nasty post, every fake tear, every manipulated story just confirms what I already knew. I'm not losing anything worth keeping. Update 2. Sorry for the delayed update. These past 2 weeks have been wild. That coffee meeting with Mrs. George? Game changer. Turns out, she's been gathering evidence for months, not just about Sharon and her husband, but about a whole pattern of behavior at the company. Remember how Dorothy mentioned the guy who left town? He wasn't the first. Mrs. George had documented at least 3 similar situations over the past 5 years. Young employees getting involved with her husband, then helping to push out anyone who might expose them. The difference this time? Mrs. George was done playing quiet. She had texts, emails, expense reports, even security footage from the company parking garage. But she wanted one final piece: public exposure. That's where the annual company party came in. I wasn't planning to attend, why would I? But Mrs. George had other ideas. Sometimes, she told me, the best revenge is just letting people show their true colors. The party was at this fancy hotel downtown. I arrived late, dressed better than I ever had for these things. The looks when I walked in? Priceless. Sharon nearly dropped her drink. George's face went from red to white so fast I thought he might pass out. But here's the beautiful part, I didn't have to do anything. Laura approached first, clearly tipsy. "You've got some nerve showing up here," she slurred, loud enough for nearby groups to hear. "After everything you put Sharon through." I just smiled. "Everything I put her through? That's interesting. Tell me more." That's when Cynthia stepped in. Remember her? My coworker. Turns out she'd been quietly collecting her own evidence, screenshots of Sharon bragging about her conquests in company chat groups, recordings of her planning how to spin the story with George. "Actually," Cynthia announced, "I think we'd all like to hear the real story." The next hour was like watching dominoes fall. Mrs. George timed her entrance perfectly, tablet in hand. The projector accidentally started playing a slideshow of incriminating messages and photos. Sharon's increasingly desperate attempts to maintain control of her narrative. But the real show came from Jason. Good old bros before hoes, except when the hoe might advance my career. Jason had been filming everything on his phone, planning to show it to George later, prove his loyalty or something. Instead, he managed to capture Sharon's complete meltdown. "You think you're so clever?" she screamed at me. "You and that bitter old woman trying to ruin everything I've built. George loves me. We're going to have a life together." That's when Mrs. George decided to share the cherry on top, divorce papers already filed. Turns out, George had been promising Sharon the same future he'd promised those other employees. Same script, different actress. The best part? Through all of this, I barely said a word. Just watched his years of manipulation and lies unravel in real time. Dorothy, who'd been quiet all evening, finally spoke up. "I helped her," she admitted, addressing the now silent room. "I helped her destroy that other guy's reputation. I can't do it again." By midnight, the party was effectively over. Sharon had stormed out, mascara streaking down her face. George was locked in his office with HR, and those friends who'd been so quick to believe her stories? They couldn't look me in the eye. As I was leaving, Mrs. George caught my arm. "Thank you," she said, "for being the one who didn't run." I drove home to my motel room, feeling strangely peaceful. Jeffrey was still up, watching late-night TV in the office. He took one look at my face and grinned. "Good night, you could say that." This morning, my phone's been blowing up again, but with a different tone this time. Apologies, explanations, people claiming they never really believed Sharon's stories. Even got a message from Edward, the guy who left town. Apparently, he's been following everything through mutual connections. Sometimes, karma doesn't need our help. It just needs an audience. Final update. Well, this is it, the final chapter of this saga, and trust me, it's been a hell of a ride. You might want to grab some popcorn for this one. First off, the aftermath of the company party hit harder than anyone expected. Within 48 hours, both George and Sharon were asked to resign. But that was just the beginning. Remember those documents Mrs. George had collected? Turns out there was more, much more. Every expense report George had falsified to cover his business dinners with Sharon. Every email where they plotted against other employees. Every manipulated performance review. She handed it to the board of directors. The company's legal team moved fast, really fast. They were less concerned about the affairs and more worried about the pattern of workplace harassment and financial misconduct. Both George and Sharon are now facing civil lawsuits. But here's where it gets interesting. Remember Edward, the guy who left town? He came back, and he brought receipts, literal and figurative. Turns out he documented everything before he left, including the smear campaign Sharon and George ran against him. He just hadn't known what to do with it all until now. Mrs. George introduced him to her lawyer, and 3 days later, he filed his own lawsuit. Then, something beautiful happened. Other former employees started coming forward, each with their own stories, their own evidence. What started as one scandal quickly became an avalanche. Sharon tried to get ahead of it. She posted a tearful video claiming she was the real victim, manipulated by George and now being persecuted. That's when Dorothy finally grew a spine. She posted the screenshots of their private chats, the ones where Sharon bragged about her conquests and planned how to destroy people's reputations. The ones where she mocked her victims. Last week, Sharon showed up at my motel. Jeffrey, the owner, called me at work. "That girl you told me about? She's making a scene in the parking lot." I took my time driving back, found her sitting on the hood of my car, mascara streaked, clutching a manila envelope. "I have dirt on everyone," she said, trying to sound threatening despite her shaking voice. "If you don't help me stop this, I'll release it all." I just laughed. "Go ahead, burn every bridge you have left. See how that works out." She threw the envelope at me. Inside were photos, screenshots, private messages, ammunition she'd collected over years of manipulating people, her insurance policy. I took pictures of every single page while she watched, then handed it back to her. "Release whatever you want, but first look at where your previous schemes got you." The thing about people like Sharon is that they can't stand when their weapons are turned against them. She tore up the envelope right there in the parking lot, screaming about how we'd all regret this. That tantrum, someone recorded it. It was all over social media within hours. The final blow came yesterday. Mrs. George's divorce was finalized, and guess what? She got everything. The house, the cars, most of their assets. George's golden parachute from the company, gone to pay legal fees. His reputation was destroyed. His future career prospects? Let's just say Google is not his friend anymore. As for Sharon, last I heard she's moving back in with her parents in another state. Her social media's gone dark. Those friends who sided with her? They're dealing with their own fallout. Turns out backing the wrong horse has consequences. Jason tried to apologize yesterday. Sent this long message about how he should have been a better friend. I just replied with a screenshot of his old messages supporting Sharon. He blocked me. Coward. Laura's doing damage control too. She's worried those screenshots Sharon kept might affect her own career. I almost feel bad. Almost. Me? I just signed a lease on a new apartment, got a promotion at work. Funny how removing toxic people improves everything. And yeah, I'm seeing someone new. Taking it slow, doing it right. The best revenge isn't plotting or scheming. It's living well and letting people destroy themselves. But I won't lie, watching it all burn has been pretty satisfying. This will be my last update. Thanks for coming along for the ride, Reddit. Remember, karma doesn't need your help. Sometimes you just need to step back and let people show their true colors. My world flipped when Sharon admitted she was cheating. Not only that, but she and my friends were all acting like I was the problem. "I needed a real man," she said. I just walked out. Looking back, I should have seen the signs, but I was too trusting. What followed was a whirlwind. Sharon tried to paint me as the villain on social media, even at work. But then things started to unravel. Turns out, she and her boss, George, had a history of this kind of manipulation. I met George's wife, who was gathering evidence, and she helped me see the bigger picture. The company party was the turning point. I showed up, and with the help of some unexpected allies, Sharon and George's lies were exposed. It was like watching a house of cards crumble. They lost their jobs, faced lawsuits, and their reputations were destroyed. Sharon tried to blackmail me with dirt she had on everyone, but I called her bluff. Seeing her lose control was satisfying. And my friends, who took her side, they're dealing with the fallout now too. I focused on myself, moved on, got a promotion, and started a new relationship. Turns out, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about living well and letting people expose their own true colors. And honestly, watching them do just that, it's been pretty damn satisfying.